It took me 7 years to get to 300,000, but will only take another 7 more to get to 1 million. Hi, my name is Kayla, and this channel is all about building a life of freedom through financial freedom. It was a Wednesday in the middle of June. I remember commuting on the train to work in the morning, feeling tired and burnt out from a recent stream of time-sensitive demands at work. I was mindlessly tapping around on my phone and ended up tapping on the app of my brokerage account. My eyes fell on the figure on the screen and I perked up immediately. For the first time, I was seeing the total value of my assets above the $300,000 mark. It took me about 7 long years to get here. When I got home that night, I pulled up a compound interest calculator on the internet and plugged in these figures. It would take about the same amount of time for me to go from 300,000 to a million. How is this possible? One reason is the effect of compounding, where we tend to see more exponential growth over a longer period of time. Another reason is that I made several investing and trading mistakes in the initial stages, spending quite some time in trial and error mode figuring out which investing and trading styles worked for me. I did not deploy my money in the most efficient way. I was getting in and out of the markets as I changed my style of investing and even lost money. In the future, I'm less likely to make such rookie mistakes. Lastly, I have been able to contribute more funds to my portfolio every year as my salary increases, and will likely be able to continue doing so in the next few years, potentially reducing the amount of time to get to a million. I've been reflecting on this milestone in my financial freedom journey, and I want to share with you what I've learned in the past 7 years of building wealth and the changes I plan to make for the next 7 years. This won't be a video about the technicalities or strategies of investing and trading in the stock market. These are merely the methods that I use to build wealth, just like how wealth can also be built through other methods like business or property. Anyone can invest, trade, or start a business, but when it comes down to it, what determines whether they take that step and the level of success they achieve is the way they run their lives and think about money. Shortly after I entered the workforce as a fresh graduate, I realized that corporate life wasn't for me. I craved freedom and dreamed of quitting. But the practical side of me was telling me to stick with it for the paycheck until I had a solid plan B. So I searched for a possibility, skeptical and pessimistic at first, not believing there's an alternative. Then I came across the concept of financial freedom. To build so much wealth that I could buy back my time and energy to live a life I love without having to participate in the corporate rat race. I became hopeful. Amongst various ways to build wealth, I was drawn most to investing and trading. As an introvert, I liked that it didn't involve having to talk to anyone. However, I didn't have any prior knowledge about it. It was a completely different field from what I studied in school. I did social sciences, and investing and trading could not be further from that. It was a world outside of my comfort zone, and it was daunting. I had to start at the basics and slowly build my way up through all the setbacks and mistakes that are inevitable at the beginning of every learning curve. Every day I tried to learn something about it, constantly pushing through the self-doubt of whether I could even succeed at this. However, the first step outside of my comfort zone wasn't learning about the things that I didn't know. It was actually questioning what I knew at the time. This is uncomfortable and scary for most of us because it challenges our beliefs, worldview, and identity. Our schools, society, and family members have trained us so well to think and operate with an employee mindset that the only way to make a living is to collect a stable paycheck in exchange for our time and labor. Sometimes it's easier to accept it as a reality of adulting and go with the flow instead of going against it. It's only when I started questioning that I realized what I came to know as my comfort zone wasn't really that comfortable after all. Questioning led me to discover fresh ideas, different perspectives, and new opportunities to live a better and more meaningful life than I thought was possible. If I didn't question my life back then, 7 years later, I wouldn't be here today. Becoming proficient in investing and trading is all about consistently taking action to learn and practice. And consistency is all about focus, persistence, and patience. Focus is about dedicating time, energy, and attention to something. In a world full of energy-zapping distractions, it's easy to lose focus and get sidetracked. I have found myself sitting down at my laptop intending to learn and practice, but ended up spending most of my time scrolling on social media, reading an email that just came in, responding to WhatsApp messages, or browsing through an e-commerce app. It's important to create an environment that is conducive for focus, where distractions and temptations are minimized or eliminated. I turn off notifications on my laptop, set my phone on airplane mode, and plug in my noise-canceling earbuds. I also ensure that the time I block out to learn and practice is when my energy levels are high. I avoid timings when I'm likely to be at low energy, which are typically at the end of a workday. This makes concentrating on the task easier, and I am less likely to be tempted to do something else that is less energy demanding. Persistence and patience are about sticking to the game. There were many times when it would have been easier to give up than to keep going. The times when I lost money in the markets. I'm talking 5-digit losses. I felt like I was playing a losing game. The times when the returns were so dismal, I questioned whether it was worth the time and risk and whether it's better off keeping my money in the bank. Every setback tested my patience, and it was difficult to stay the course in the midst of fear and disappointment. But the fear of giving up and remaining stuck in corporate for the rest of my life was stronger. So I channeled my fear and disappointment towards improving, leveling up my knowledge and practice. When I lost money in the markets, I reflected on what went wrong, how it could have gone better, and reminded myself to do that the next time. When my returns were below what I expected, I sought out more information about how the markets work and what I could do to improve my returns. I began to understand how compounding growth in the stock market works, and that put things into perspective for me. Investing is not about making quick gains. It's about having the patience and discipline to let your money grow through the power of compounding. All I needed to do was to be patient. Success doesn't happen overnight, so honing the ability to focus, to be persistent, and to be patient are 3 qualities that will enable us to consistently show up for our dreams and work towards achieving our goals. To build wealth, we need to live below our means. The difference between what we earn and what we spend is what we have left over to build wealth. We can increase the difference by either lowering our expenses or increasing our earnings. My portfolio is built entirely with the salary from my day job. Day in, day out for about 7 years, I kept my expenses low and invested everything I saved. In recent years, my savings rate went above 60% on a take-home salary of about $60 to $65K annually. I budgeted and tracked every expense and dollar saved. At some point, I became so obsessed that I was almost afraid to spend any money on things that were not absolutely essential and felt guilty if I did so, like going out for a meal instead of cooking at home. I turned into a frugality freak. It was not healthy. I wanted to reach my goals, but it shouldn't be at the expense of deprivation and sacrificing my quality of life. A healthy balance was needed, and it was with this in mind that I created a new process for budgeting that was based on what I valued, and that gave me room for guilt-free spending on those things. It liberated me to live my life and still be on track to achieve my money goals. The past 7 years have taught me important lessons in wealth building and in becoming the type of person who consistently shows up for my goals. The next 7 years, I want to take it a step further. I want to live a little more. I want to use my money to make life easier for myself. Yes, I learned to move away from being a frugality freak by being more intentional with budgeting, but sometimes I catch myself falling back into this pattern of thinking and behaving. I want to be able to get what I need without hesitation. I don't want to think about how spending $5 on a cup of coffee outside would set me back when I couldn't get a good night's sleep last night. I don't want to spend my time and energy weighing the pros and cons between an $8 meal versus a $10 meal when I have already decided to eat out. I don't want to force myself to take the public transport when I'm feeling dead tired after a long and demanding day. I want to be able to use my money to buy back more of my time and energy. I also want to say yes more often to the things that matter to me. Traveling and making memories with my family and friends is one of those things. This year, I set my budget for travel at $2,800 and spent about 60% of it on a trip with my husband in February. When my immediate family asked me to join them on a trip in July, I hesitated because the remaining amount definitely wouldn't be enough to fund the trip. I would have to wait until next year with a fresh set of budget. However, this goes against the whole point of chasing this dream of financial freedom, which is so that I can spend my time, energy, and money on things that matter to me. I didn't want to turn it down or wait until next year. I'm 30 years old already and my parents are getting older every day. How many more years of good mobility do they have to travel? If I wait because of the budget I set for myself, I might not get a chance and might end up regretting it. With this intention, I will be revising the 2024 budget I set out earlier this year to reflect the new life I want to live. A budget that allows me to use my money to make my life easier when I need to, and to allow me to say yes more often to the things that matter. I want to challenge myself to build wealth or another income stream outside of the financial markets. Beyond my day job, the methods I have learned to build wealth and income streams are all based around the financial markets. I want to take another step outside of my comfort zone, explore other methods outside of the financial markets, and learn new knowledge and skills. This will create a stronger safety net when I eventually leave the workforce and at the same time speed up my journey towards financial freedom. I'm looking at various business ideas and property investing right now. I'm not sure what I will land on yet, but I'm excited to share my decision and plans in future videos. I want to upgrade my mindsets and habits. Becoming wealthy and successful is an inner game. It's about our mindsets and habits, whether they are holding us back or conducive to helping us achieve our goals. I want to reduce and eliminate the limiting mindsets and habits in my life, such as scarcity thinking, procrastination, and being a people pleaser. I want to embrace empowering mindsets and habits, such as abundant thinking, taking action on my goals, and being comfortable saying no. I talked about some of these mindsets and habits in a previous video, and will be sharing more of what I learned about wealth and success-oriented mindsets and habits along the way. That's all for the things I've learned in the past 7 years of building wealth and the changes I plan to make for the next 7 years. If you're interested in following my money and self-growth journey on the road to financial freedom, do subscribe to my channel and let's build a life of freedom together.